Sports Philadelphia.
Howie, when you look at the depth, I'm sorry, when you look at the depth and versatility.
Whoa. What kind of gentleman are you, dude? She cut her off.
What? Welcome to Quick Slant.
No. See, you've been cutting me off so long. I'm glad he did that.
Well, you see how he tried to.
I'm glad he did that, man.
Just
to show you, man. Sometimes you get pretty rude cutting people off like that, man.
I don't cut people off. I'm a gentleman all the time.
You cut me off all the time.
But that's different, though. You
What's
need to be
different
cut
about that?
off. You ramble. You need to be cut off.
I'm giving the people what they want.
Look,
I got to get what you come to see.
I was hot as a hornet's nest at that time, man.
Why is that?
Well, because, see, we had a chance to talk to Howie and Joe Douglas today, right? The writers get in for 40 minutes in a nice controlled environment indoors.
Writers mean the paper.
The newspaper writer, yeah. The TV people, we get them outside in the wind, in the cold and stuff, and we get them for 5 minutes, him and Joe for 5 minutes apiece. So you understand you understand it? I wasn't thinking like a gentleman at the time, man. I was thinking as a competitive journalist. I was hot, dude. Now, you understand where I'm coming from?
I get you, bro.
All right, anyway. All right, when he was not taking shots at me, Howie Roseman was discussing next week's NFL draft. He said he had learned plenty over the years, and the Birds are now in position to take the best player available.
We got to learn lessons from our past, and me in particular, I've been humbled by some of the mistakes that I've made in terms of valuing certain positions over what's the best particular player, and it stares you right in the face when you go back and look at those drafts and you go, hey, we really like this player, different position, but we went into the draft saying we have to get X, and that's why we try to take care of as many needs as we possibly can during free agency and go into the draft and just say, we don't know what we're going to need a year from now, 2 years from now, and these players are long-term players for our team.
All right, do you honestly think Howie has learned his lesson, and do you think the Birds will go for best player available in this draft?
Yes, as long as it's a defensive player, yes, they will go.
Then that's not just going for best player available.
Well, as long as the best player, let me be more specific there.
Okay.
The best player is available, that's a defensive lineman. That's how specific we got to get about this.
Okay.
They are going to invest. They invest a lot in the trenches. In fact, you look at Howie, he's learned from Big Red. Andy Reid always made sure he had a great offensive line in front of his quarterback. And they took that and they've been going with it ever since then. This team has always been in a great position when they have a good offensive line and a good defensive line. And they haven't shied away from that. They missed a little bit on the firemen and the former quarterback. But other than that, they have done well as getting guys in there to protect their pass thrower. So in so many words, yes, I do believe that they understand they have to go in the trenches. They draft the best available player in the trenches. I'm fine with it, whether it be offense or defense. They're going to draft in the trenches.
I look at the current roster right now, and I think Howie said it best earlier today when he said, we have a roster right now that can compete.
Yes.
And I agree with him 100% because when you look at the offseason moves they've made, you look at the players that are coming back from last season, a lot of those players were part of that Super Bowl winning team the previous season, okay? So he has structured this roster to where he doesn't have to rely solely on the draft to fill specific needs. You look at the depth and the quality of the offensive line and the versatility. You 6 deep at the cornerback position. If you even wanted to use one of those cornerbacks as trade bait in the upcoming draft, it still wouldn't hurt his cornerback situation. It wouldn't hurt his offensive line situation. And then he said also, we can't just draft for right now. We have to draft for long term as well. And you look at what they've done in that regard. Okay, a young receiver like a Mac Hollins, a Rasul Douglas. They drafted Jordan Mailata. He may not even get on the field again in 2019, but he's still there if they need him beyond 2019. And because he's a year further along in his football education, he will be more ready to play this year if called upon than he was in 2019.
And that's why I'm screaming, go get a linebacker.
True.
I mean, I've been saying that, been yelling to the hills, let's go get a linebacker like Devin Bush. But they're not going to listen to me this time. They're going to draft in the trenches.
Look, if the Eagles stay at 25, I don't think Devin Bush is going to be on the board for 24
We're
picks.
talking about Howie. Howie is he has that ingenuity.
I understand.
He'll get you whatever you need. He'll go up the ladder to make sure he gets the best player available And I believe that if we're anywhere around that 20 or 18, you got to get that kid. That kid is a difference maker.
Now, I like what Howie was saying, that he's learned his lessons. And I think that what we see in the last couple of drafts in particular is a direct influence of Joe Douglas coming here and the knowledge that Joe Douglas learned from the likes of an Ozzie Newsome in Baltimore and the 1 year he was in Chicago. And you look at the way Joe Douglas has drafted. Now you start to see that happen over the last couple of years with the way this Eagles roster has been structured.
Well, you know, he doesn't get enough credit. They don't talk a lot about what Joe Douglas has done. But he has really been the focal point on how they go out and pick the players that they're picking.
Sure.
I mean, they're going out and getting the free agents that they're getting. You know, so, I mean, I like the fact that he's going out and he has a heavy hand in the decision-making, that the coach trusts him and the GM trusts him. So when you got both of those guys trusting you, you're doing a pretty good job.
All right, meanwhile, the market might be set for the contract extension the Eagles have to give to Carson Wentz because Russell Wilson just got paid. The Seahawks are making him the highest paid player in the NFL history, a whopping 4-year, $140 million extension. It includes a $65 million signing bonus. The deal will be added onto the remaining year he had on his previous deal and keeps him with the Seahawks through the 2020 season. Wilson now tops the list of the highest yearly average salaries, knocking Aaron Rodgers from that perch. It's been a steady increase over the last 3 years, with each new deal for a quarterback topping the previous one. Of the players on the list, only Wilson and Rodgers have Super Bowl rings. So, Barrett, where will Mr. Wentz fall on this list? Will he eventually be at the top?
You know what? He won't be at the top this contract, but he will be at the top going ahead and going forward. They trust this guy's going to be healthy enough to be the franchise quarterback of this team. If you look at it, he's above Jimmy Garoppolo. I really believe his skill set is above his. He's right around that Luck range, you know, because Luck is pretty good even though he hasn't won a Super Bowl. But I think he's better than a Matt Ryan. You know, he just has to go out there and make sure that he plays to that level. I don't think he's better than Phillip Rivers, but he's on the way to being that good. He still has to prove a lot, but I think he should be getting paid up there in that level, right around that 30. I can't believe I'm talking about $30 million. You know, when I came in as a rookie, our salary cap was only like $38 million.
Wow, the whole cap.
The entire salary cap was $38 million. Now there are players that are making annually a year, just one player might be making $35 million. That is crazy. You know, but hey, this is just the way it is right now. When I got drafted, my entire contract was $1.7 million. A second rounder these days.
Over 4 years?
Yes, over 4 years.
You know, people out there right now go, oh, poor Barrett. He only got about $2 million to play football.
For 4 years. There are guys coming in the league right now making $6 million, hadn't even went out there and touched anybody at the NFL level in the second round.
You were born too soon. That's the problem.
Way too soon, man. Way too soon, man. But hey, you know, you live and you learn. Now I'm trying to make D-Gun. I'm trying to get that D-Gun money, baby. That D-Gun money.
What, you talking about Monopoly money? Is that what you talking about? Monopoly? What? Look, to me, Carson Wentz is not Russell Wilson worthy yet.
Not even close.
You look at Russell Wilson in the 7 years he's been in the league, 6 of those years he's been in the playoffs. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. He's won a Super Bowl. He has proven that he can lead a team. What he did with that team last year offensively when they were basically gutted was phenomenal, how he willed that team to the playoffs last year. They were missing a lot of key players on defense. They didn't have much to work with on offense. The offensive line was beat up to a certain degree, and Russell Wilson willed that team to the playoffs.
Too many young players, and he still willed them guys.
Yes, now Carson Wentz is capable of that, but until Carson Wentz finishes what he starts, I can't put him in that Russell Wilson tier. Russell Wilson has never missed a game in 7 years, okay? Carson Wentz, it's well documented. He hasn't finished the last 2 seasons.
But he does play hurt, though.
Yes, he does. And he played hurt with a broken back last year.
Right.
Until they finally shut him down. Carson Wentz is going to get paid eventually, but I think Carson Wentz right now is at that Jimmy Garoppolo tier.
Yes.
People are still shocked that the 49ers gave Garoppolo $137.5 million. And what happened to him last year?
Got hurt.
Tore up his knee.
After the 5th game, wasn't it?
After the 5th game, tore up his knee. That's a lot of money to give the quarterback sitting on the sideline holding the clipboard.
It's the going rate.
That's the nature of the beast, though. Carson Wentz, I agree with you. He's not going to get that Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers money this coming contract, but eventually, if he continues to improve, if he can stay healthy, show his durability, and we get to see the Carson Wentz that we saw in 2017 for the duration of a season, Carson Wentz is going to be at the king of the hill financially.
I really believe that he is that top-tier quarterback.
Yep.
He is that good. We just need to give him a shot, y'all. Give him a chance. Let him go out there and prove himself.
Yep.
We got to understand, he's still very, very young. Going into his 4th year, he's still so young as a player. You know, we got to give him a little more.
All right, now we learned earlier this offseason that Fletcher Cox had to undergo surgery on his foot. Today, the Eagles All-Pro confirmed and gave his goal for recovery.
I had a procedure done and this offseason, and everything is going good. So I'm happy about that. I'm just taking it day by day.
When do you think you'll be back on the field? OTAs or later than that?
I mean, the goal is to be, like I said, ready for training camp. I think, like I said, just taking it day by day. The doctors all, everybody got a schedule, and I'm following what they're doing, and everything's going good so far. And training camp is a goal.
All right, Fletch had a career-high 10.5 sacks last year, but he will spend the bulk of this offseason on the sideline. When he comes back, if he's fortunate to come back to start this campaign or whenever he comes back, can he still be that dominant force?
Oh, I think he's going to be even better. If you look at Fletch, he's got the money. So he's not working towards the money. What his competitive nature is now, he wants to be the best player on the field when he's out there. He went up against Aaron Donald. They didn't necessarily play against each other, but he wanted to make sure he was the best defensive player on the field when he plays against those top-tier guys. Even playing against Chicago, he wanted to be better than Mac. Even every time they played against anybody, he wanted to be the best player. When they played Houston, he wanted to make sure his stats were better than the Houston defensive line stats. And that's what he's doing. He's taking his career to another level. He's looking at things more so as, all right, I'm not just competing to get the money. I'm competing right now going against the top-tier defenses. I feel as though I'm a top-tier guy, so I'm going to go out there and facilitate that. And plus, he has the characters around him to make him a better player also. I mean, at this point, Malik Jackson, he's a guy that can go out there and be that yin to his yang.
Right.
He's going to be in that one technique. The one technique is the gap between the center and the guard. If he can stay in there and fill that one technique and create havoc right there, that means you can't slide the line out there to Fletcher anymore. You can't triple team him like they were doing for a major part of last year. Now you got to focus on both guys. It's an offensive coordinator's nightmare right now that you have a guy that can rush the passer at the one technique and rush the passer at the 3 technique, and that's in between the tackle and the guard. If both guys can push up the field, quarterback's going to hate it because now they can't step up. Now you have BG and Barnett coming from the ends.
Right.
It's going to be a better situation for everybody on the defensive line because now they have the horses to go run the race.
Yeah, man, but every time you talk about a foot injury to an offensive or defensive lineman, it makes me a little nervous in terms of them being effective because a lot of the game has to do with being able to push off. And a lot of times, even when they come back from foot surgeries, it'll linger until the next season.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at it, Michael Bennett played for the major part of the season.
Sure.
His foot was messed up, but you didn't know it come Sunday. I think Fletcher's going to be the consummate pro. He's going to go out there and make sure that he's going to play at his top level, understanding that he has a new mindset going into the season. He wants to be the best, and he's working at being the best.
All right, still to come, Barrett goes into the trenches to break down a possible fit for the Birds with that 25th overall pick. I'm talking about Boston College guard Chris Lindstrom. And Jalen Mills was arrested over the past weekend down in D.C. He gives an apology to the Philly faithful and the organization. We will show it to you on the other side.
Hitting home runs is hard.
Reese Hoskins sends to the moon.